The sky turned black, the stars fell down. United we stand, but we're losing ground. One world beneath the iron fist. Voices silenced, they cease to resist. Echoes of hope in the darkening night. Fading whispers of a long lost life. Rise up, hear the call to arms. In this storm of chaos we'll find our charms. Together we'll fight through the ashes and dust. A phoenix reborn in our hearts' purest trust. The sirens wail through the desolate towns. Once proud nations painted in the scars of the crown. A single army marching on our dreams. Unity forged in despair, or so it seems. Nothing left but shadows drifting away as the last embers of freedom decay. Rise up, hear the call to arms. In this storm of chaos we'll find our charms. Together we'll fight through the ashes and dust. A phoenix reborn in our hearts' purest trust. One global army, together we stand. In the fall of the world, we'll make our last stand.
Well, everybody, welcome to the Friday edition of Into the Red Rabbit Hole. I'm Nighthawk, your host, and we've got Eric backstage patiently waiting. He can wave to you outside of the screen if he wants to. And I know he's going to be on the chat too, so make sure you get your digs in early because we don't know how long we might be on tonight because technical issues always abound, amazingly, with Into the Red Rabbit Hole when a podcast comes on. And I'm starting to think it's a conspiracy theory. Imagine that. Anyways, we're going to get into the disclaimer. And this is everything, the music and the content on the podcast is Nighthawk High Strange's podcast channel sole ownership. Okay, so there should be no claims and strikes made against this podcast whatsoever, including the music. So we're going to do the disclaimer anyways, which is the copyright disclaimer. This channel may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner, but contends that it might fall under the Fair Use, which is the Copyright Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strange's podcast channel and all the podcasts on the channel declare fair use of any and all content under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, which makes allowances for fair use for purposes such as criticism, parody, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, and let's not forget the entertainment value, because we all know I like to joke around, and so does Eric. All right, under the
Mhm.
section 7 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Let's get that off of there. And surprise, I don't have my camera on because whatever's going on tonight, if I have my camera off for some reason, it seems to go a little smoother. I don't know why. It's crazy. But Eric, we were talking backstage before we went live about the internet and stuff and how they're going to be fixing
Yeah.
yours. And I had the guy come out today and he sprayed the paint on the ground to find to mark the underground cable. And they got plans on ripping the cable up from my place all the way to the box. And I don't know how long it's going to take to fix it. So I might be out for God knows how long. He didn't even tell me when they were coming back. So it could be tomorrow they
Yeah,
come
we
back.
finally,
I don't.
yeah, we finally got that technician out here to fix mine.
Hmm. Anyways, tonight's conversation is going to be about the reptilians. Now, folks, there's so many avenues we can go down on this whole topic. I mean, the fact that there's the whole bloodline thing, that's connected to the Rothschilds, um, and the Rockefellers, and even the Vatican, for that matter, has a reptilian connection. Um, Even it's said that the royal family has a reptilian connection to the bloodline, but there's several different things going around where there's more than just the one reptilian race, that we know of. And I've already made the supernatural connection with some of these reptilian beings, and the paranormal with the shapeshifter, situation with being Native American. So there are races out there, alien races, and probably terrestrial races that we don't even know that have been here longer than humanity, that can physically shapeshift their form, okay, or mentally control humanity to make it look like their form is something other than what it is, okay. So then you take the fact that there's legends of gargoyles, legends of all kinds of reptilian species, statues made around the world. The Naga from India, is a good one. Norse legends have legends of lizard beings. Um, there's all kinds. This is in Oslo, Norway, by the way, this statue here, um, which is the same thing as a Naga, because Nagas were described to have almost like a snake lower half of their body and a human torso. So, but then you've got the actual different types of reptilians, the reptilians that are said to be good, okay, that have lived underground for eons in certain areas of our world. And then you have the draconian, which are the ones that came here allegedly, okay, from another galaxy far, far away, okay. Um, So, there's so many different ways we can actually bring this subject up. And I want to stick with a lot of what we see happening. We know that there are cases of reptilians that, are hidden in society. I love this movie, by the way, but they live. Um, And we see things posted all the time on social media about people's eyes changing, and literally, um, even the bodyguard for Obama, the one time I had the picture. I used to have the pictures on here, but I'm not going to bring them up this time. I have them on my computer, which is good enough for me. But then we have, like I said, the draconian, and the draconian are a species that are basically the ones that are in control, is what people say. Okay, now are they a genetic offshoot of a possible Nephilim and dinosaur type of a inbreeding program? Could be. Okay. I don't want to get too far into the supernatural aspect of it tonight, but I am curious to see what everybody's thoughts are on it, because when you're dealing with the reptilian race and everything that is associated with it, from the satanic cults to organ harvesting to literally human abductions. I believe they're responsible for some of the cattle mutilations, and so on and so on, missing children. And I'm a firm believer that they are a problem when it comes to this adrenochrome, okay,
Hmm.
which is produced just like the movie Monsters from Disney, where they used the screams of children to produce the adrenochrome that they would steal. Okay, that was kind of a soft disclosure, if you ask me. That movie, bringing it to the forefront. But you know, I ask you all: are they aliens? Are they demons? Or are they both? Or are they all of the above? Because there's no way to actually assume they are not one or the other. I mean, there can be connections made and everything. In my research over the years that I've been doing this, I've found that they're actually associated with the archons, which is like, I liken the archons in Gnostic religious belief to the demons in Christianity belief. Okay, that's what I liken the archons to. So, and Gnostic is even older than Christianity. Okay, so there's that supernatural spiritual connection too, to the way things are in our world. So, Eric, what do you think? I mean, it could be all of the above as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, all the above is definitely a good possibility, and you know, it's we hear so much stuff. It's hard to say. There's a reason why in my sci-fi book I wrote, the Gru as the draconian reptilian style, is because they're the most well known for being the most destructive, evil, want to take over planets for minerals, resources, and food. So I can see that. I mean, and there's a lot of whistleblowers just came out talking about this stuff and how the draconians are ruling everything, and so it's definitely that possibility.
What do you think the connection could possibly be to, say, dinosaurs, and even the dragons of medieval lore?
Mhm. Well, I mean, dinosaurs was coined in 1864. So before then, they were called dragons. So what we think of dinosaurs, I don't see them being the same thing unless they've evolved into what we know them now. I think there was something totally different. Um, but I see where some similarities are on that. So I don't know. Me personally, I think there's something totally different.
Right. Now, I think that you need to separate the two. To tell you the truth, I don't believe that everything that the Smithsonian puts together in museums, as far as prehistoric creatures go, like dinosaurs, are 100% factual, because there are cases that can be made that, well, first off, how many of you all know that only about 5% of all the bones that they use for reconstructing dinosaurs in museums is actually real bone? Okay. The rest are
Fun.
all fabricated, manufactured stuff by their speculative guess on what the creature was. So,
Yeah.
it's not like somebody had a camera back then and took pictures.
Well, and the thing too is you got to consider this. What we call dinosaurs, like I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're doing good at 5% being found of the actual fossils. And obviously, they're different. I mean, the size tells you they're different. I firmly believe that they were what we consider dragons nowadays. But there's also whistleblowers came out and said a lot of the giant bones that they found um, they use in the dinosaur displays to hide the bones of the giants from civilization. I don't know if that's true. I mean, it's just stuff I've heard from whistleblowers, but definitely a possibility, and I can see that being. Now, so we know because of the fossil records, there's been enough complete um, skeletons to know that what we call dinosaurs nowadays was something totally different than these draconians and the lizard people and all these other ones that's out there. Now, could they have been something that they created? Possibly. I don't know. I mean, even dinosaurs
What
are
about
talked
the
about in the Bible. It
possibility?
doesn't say dinosaur, but
Yeah. What about the possibility of them being associated with, say, gargoyles?
I can't see that because gargoyles is something completely different. Comes
But if
way,
you're
way,
talking
way,
dragons,
way. Talking dragons, I'm leaving that towards the dinosaurs because you got to think about it.
okay,
There's four types of dragons. Okay, in any mythology you read about dragons, there's four types of dragons. There's your water, your air, your land, and your fire dragons. Right? What type of
right?
dinosaurs we have? We have four types of dinosaurs. So that's why I'm kind of on the page of, hey, I think what we call dinosaurs now were actual dragons. Some can fly, some can't, some can swim, some were earthbound. I mean, everything we talk about on the four types of dragons fits with the dinosaurs like the perfectly made jigsaw puzzle.
Well, what if
So,
the dinosaur that they said, I forget the name of it, the one that spits out the venom like a king cobra snake?
oh,
Um, what if
kind of like
those
that
dinosaurs? Yeah, in
Hallelujah lizard.
Jurassic. Yeah, yeah. Now, what if that would be misconstrued as the fire breathing dragon?
It's very possible. Absolutely. I can see that being the case. Absolutely. I mean, yes, they closely resemble the Hallelujah lizard we know nowadays because it walks on water, or the Jesus lizard, whatever it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head. They're the closest thing to that type of dinosaur that we know of to this day. And in fact, the characteristics are very similar as well. They're just a hell of a lot smaller. Now, could that be what they originally were? And now they've shrunken down to evolve to fit to this new atmosphere. Possibly. We don't have as pure oxygen like we used to back in them days. That's why we don't have the giants like we used to have. Um, these giant creatures, it's I forgot where I
Yeah,
left off on your guys' comments. I'm sorry.
the, the one thing too that we've got to remember too, though, with ancient history is when biblical writings and also tablet writings are interpreted and about giants roaming the earth. You have to think and take in consideration the oxygen level of the earth at the time. Back then,
Mm-hmm.
things would have been bigger, okay, because the
Oh yeah.
oxygen level would be somewhere a little over 30% compared to what it is right now, which is like 19.5%. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, you're almost double. the normal oxygen needed. Basically, look at it this way: if you double the oxygen level of today, okay, in today's standards, you can pretty much double at least the size of humanity because you would
Hmm.
need, that would be a basic, way of trying to figure out some kind of solution to the numbers of the giants and how big they were. But oxygen back then was anywhere from 30 to 35%, at best guess. And then you got to take in consideration too, the bigger the object that's biological, the more air it's going to need to take in. So the bigger the lung capacity,
Hmm.
the bigger the nasal passages are going to be, you know. So we have to take that into consideration. So that very well could be a viable way of saying what this reptilian race is that was here, terrestrial on the planet. Could very well be a descendant from these dinosaurs or dragons.
It's def- it's definitely possible. Look at it on this way. You got a catfish. Anybody knows anything about fish knows that catfish can get very big, depending on the amount of room they have to grow and the food source that they have. So if you took that concept, you put it back in the days of the dino era, you're going to see why these things got big. Now, can what we call the reptilians nowadays, the draconians, the lizard man, stuff like that, could they be an evolved form of it? Possibly. I'm not on that fence yet, but I could say I'm teetering that way because there is a possibility to it. I can't deny that. Um, but I believe the draconians and stuff like that is something completely different because dinosaurs were suited for this environment back then, and these alien type lizard people come from a different planet completely. So this is the reason why I'm not really on that fence. But could they've done some gene splicing like they did with us? Let's face it, folks. We're not made for this planet. We're absolutely not made for this planet. We're not like anything else on this planet. Our whole setup is completely different than everything else on this planet. We sunburn, they don't. We're not covered in hair, they usually are. Um, we have to survive on different things than they do. We can't handle the elements like they can. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It shows that humankind is not from this planet. Now, every single civilization in history talks about how their god or their deity took the clay of the earth and created mankind. It's in every single in Norse mythology. It's the elm tree and the ash tree, Adam and Eve. um, but they always took the most ancient one, which is ancient Sumerian. That's the oldest known religion that we've got recorded in history. Even talks about how it took the clay of the earth and mixed it with their DNA to create humans. That's throughout every single ancient religion out there. So behind every legend, behind every myth, there's a kernel of truth to it. There's an ember that glows there. It goes, hey, there is something about this that is true. How true it is, we don't know yet. I mean, in time, will we know? Possibly. Um, Powers to be is letting things out. We're starting to learn a lot more stuff than what we used to. So um, we'll have to see. But I mean, it's just the pure facts. We're not designed for this planet.
Exactly, exactly. And when you think about a reptilian being, okay, and I've had a couple instances where I've had to investigate and research it here locally, in my area because of reported sightings, by local residents, more south of me than anything. So David and Melissa, look out. um, anyways, but you hear so much of them having control in certain bloodlines. You almost have to imagine that maybe these reptilian beings have that have come from another planet, or maybe even another dimension for that matter, that we assume is a planet, um, messed with the human bloodline of certain families to obtain power to control humanity all these years. And, you can't help but wonder that are they traditionally cold blooded? Are they traditionally like we perceive like snakes need to warm themselves up in the sun before they start moving around, and lizards do too, especially in the desert. They need, because the cold nights. Um, are certain reptilian beings cold blooded enough to where they need to make the planet warmer than normal, which is called climate change?
Mm-hmm. Could be. Hey, I'm be right back. I'm gonna grab my coffee. It should be done now. Hey, Robin.
So it's my opinion, okay, that what we're seeing happening with all the geoengineering going on, and some of the basic weather watchers that I know, like Alaskan Skywatcher, if he's listening, there's a plug for you. If you don't know who I'm talking about, look him up on YouTube and Facebook, Alaskan Skywatcher, and give him a follow and subscribe to his channel, because you'll learn a lot. Okay, especially how the weather is being manipulated for climate change to make the planet, they say, to cool the planet down, but I don't believe it. Not with all the high temperatures and the volcanic activity that we're seeing, the actual wildfires. I mean, what, last year there was what, 3,000 wildfires in North America alone, you know? So to me, it's a lot more going on than just a an agenda to keep the elitist in control. Okay. I believe that this bloodline that has intermixed, from the Rothschilds into the royal families and stuff around the world, certain banking families, certain corporations that are owned by certain families, and even the Federal Reserve, for that matter, which was formed in 1913. Um, and I just posted about it on Facebook too. It's a big scam. Did you know, that when a, a year before or 2 years before the Federal Reserve was formed by the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, and I forget some of the other names in there, which are connected to the reptilian bloodline. Did you know that the Titanic was sunk on purpose because the
Not the
one
Titanic.
person, the one person that was on the ship Titanic, um, was so well known and popular, and he was speaking out against the Federal Reserve. They basically sunk the ship because they couldn't put a bullet in him to unalive him, because it would have caused a lot of problems for the elitists at the time. So, and that's all part of this reptilian bloodline. So, I mean, it goes so far and so deep. So go ahead, Eric. I know you got something you want to say.
Yeah, so it wasn't the actual Titanic that was sunk. It was his sister ship that was said to be disabled. That's done been proven. The portholes alone, the structure of it shows that wasn't the actual Titanic that sunk, and it wasn't one guy that kept the Rothschilds and Rockefellers from the United States, which brought in the Federal Reserve and all that. It was Four
Well,
tycoons here in the United States is what kept them.
it was one guy in particular that they knew that they couldn't silence with a bullet because it would have caused riots in the streets, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
it's it.
that.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but
Yeah, the sinking of the Titanic was to eliminate the four tycoons. That way, the Rothschilds and Rockefellers can come here in the United States. It's a bad deal. I mean it. And look what happened. As soon as that did, what happened to the American dollar? What happened to America? There's a reason why a lot of people call Trump the 19th president, because the last true president was Ulysses S. Grant.
exactly, exactly, exactly. Well, we're not going to get into all that whole rigmarole because we don't need to be shut down tonight. Um,
Yeah, that's
because you know
true.
darn well when we start talking the deep conspiracy theory stuff on the channel that they do shut us down. So, but
Yeah.
you know,
So
the people know they're not stupid. Okay, anybody that assumes that that humanity doesn't see what's going on is completely wrong. Um,
Mhm.
there may be a small fraction of humanity that don't want to believe it, but I think for the most part, the less fortunate middle class and below are the hardcore ones that are believing what they're seeing is real, and that
Yeah.
this bloodline has introduced itself into some very prominent bloodlines
Uh-huh.
here on Earth, and those families don't want to give up the power, and neither do the reptilians. So, are we
Certain
looking at
bloodline
a
as far as royalty was.
yeah, exactly,
Sorry.
exactly. That's okay. And then you take in consideration the fact that they're harvesting the adrenochrome, okay, and they're harvesting human organisms, livers, hearts, lungs, all kinds of different stuff that they're harvesting. And they're harvesting the same thing out of cattle, okay? So,
Yep.
what does that mean? Well, humans are a form of cattle, and that's all we have ever been to them.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. You know, um, I agree. The harvesting of human adrenochrome has gotten really put down. Got a let's just say a cap put on it, so I can see them going to another substance to get what they want. Because what's that known as? The other name for adrenochrome is the elixir of life. Um, Throughout history, people have tried to find the fountain of youth or the elixir of life. Well, adrenoclone's it. I mean, that's why it is called the elixir of life. So,
Exactly.
if you notice, people who take it stay young for a very long time, and when it got a cap on it, you see certain people age very rapidly.
So we can safely say that from the vast majority of the people in the chat, and the other researchers and investigators that we know in the cryptid community and the paranormal community, we can pretty much say that there should be no possibility of eliminating any possibility for a reason for a reptilian race to be here, whether it's genetic makeup, whether it's extraterrestrial, whether it's interdimensional, whether it's supernatural, or whether it's, paranormal, okay, which is out of the normal realm. So, you
Mhm.
know, to put our finger on one specific part of the whole reptilian agenda would be an impossibility. We know for fact that also the possibility of human soul harvesting is another one to offset the organs and the adrenochrome. So, because we all know that there are the theories out there of the Earth being a planet that is like a cosmic zoo, basically, where they recycle our bodies and our souls over and over again because they draw a certain energy, um, frequency, and vibration off of our souls. So the more souls that they harvest and rotate back and forth in humanity, the more power they're going to have. Now, is that part of a supernatural phenomena, or is that associated
Yeah.
with, with the actual draconian race that came from another planet or another dimension? I do know that in the UFO disclosure hearings in DC, that the consensus was made that these beings were not all of them extraterrestrial, that the majority of them were interdimensional, which means another level of source, of life. So, there's so many,
Yeah.
like I said, there's so many ways we could go with this, and there's so many ways that it could be twisted. But I'm under the belief that there are several different reasons for this species to be here. Okay, this specific reptilian species, whether it's the ones that were terrestrial that are older than humanity that have lived here. Um, some of the native cultures of my cousins across the United States call them the ant people. Some people call them the sky beings. It just depends on which affiliated tribe you're talking about. Um, and then you put in the whole situation of well, they a lot of the the dragon. A lot of people are talking about the dragon bloodline. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you see it throughout social media on all kinds of platforms and podcasts. The dragon bloodline, um, and the four elements of the dragon bloodline. So it kind of correlates with the whole dinosaur, descendant thing too. But there's got to be a viable connection to connect the dots between each and every different species of reptilian being that is here, whether it's flesh and blood, whether it's supernatural, whether it's interdimensional, or whatnot, or genetically man-made, you know, like the super soldier program. There's got to be a way to
Could
connect the
be.
dots to connect them all together.
Yeah. And that's the hard part because there's so much false information put out there. Like none of us are experts. Nobody's an expert. Everything is a theory because we got to prove it first. And right now, it's hard for anybody to prove anything. But you got to take them theories and build upon them theories and go, okay, now this one is definitely out because I found evidence to suggest this is way out in left field. But that's how you do it. You got to come up with these theories. You got to research on these theories. You got to see how they fit, and just it's a time consuming deal.
Right. And then let's talk about the eye change. We know that we've seen the videos online of all these superstars and stuff, and I hate to call them idols because a lot of kids idolize a lot of these prominent Hollywood people and musicians out there and artists. Um, you know, and what's the Bible say about idols? Uh, so there's that biblical connection again to this possible reptilian bloodline. You know, could they be archon? Could they be considered demons? I think they could, especially when you're dealing with a supernatural type of an entity, not a terrestrial entity, not an interterrestrial, extraterrestrial entity, and not one that is genetically manufactured, but one that is truly genuine, um, Nephilim spirit, let's say, like the Nephilim virus, that I've talked about. So there's that possibility.
Yeah. Uh, Gosh dang, that chat keeps flying, so I keep hitting the wrong one from time to time. It's partially my fault, guys. I'm sorry I'm fidgeting around and kind of moving. You may hear me grunt. I'm trying not to, but I got my knee hurt at work Monday, and I'm swollen from my hamstring all the way down to my calf. So forgive me if I'm fidgeting around a lot or moving, and you may hear me grunt. Um, but yeah,
Fluffy's extra
so
fluffy.
yeah. Oh God, not in a good way. Yeah. Ah, it sucks, dude. It sucks so bad.
I
Um,
know, man. I know.
so when it comes to this stuff, like I kind of want to hit something like I was walking out on. You was talking about the changing the environment and all that. I believe that was a type of slow process terraforming for these reptilians type people. Um, but we know it got put a nixed on. So I think because certain powers to be, certain things happen. Well, they got nixed. But I believe that's what they honestly were trying to do. And then when you look at these, it's not just these actors and sports people and performers and stuff like that. It's people of power. It's the 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 depth of where these eye changing people are seen. They're seen in all different levels. So I believe that was a type of infiltration. They're trying to infiltrate so they can. So one of the leading theories about the Draconian is they find a planet, they take over that planet, and they terraform it to their conditions that fits their needs, and then they harvest the minerals and they harvest the how do you put it nicely? Because we've said it too much on here already. Certain elixirs of life, and they harvest food, which I'm sorry, we are on the menu, boys. That saying, meat's back on the menu, boys. Well, that's us with
Yep.
Draconians. That's one of the leading theories, and I can see that because it fits very well together. I'm not
Long
saying it's
pork.
fact by any means. Yeah, yeah. It's that's just my personal opinion to anybody out there who's listening that may want to throw a fit about this. My personal opinion, which I have a God given right to have my own personal opinion. That's mine. That's just because
Yeah.
for me, that's where the pieces fit. Um, so
Okay.
I can
Looks
see
like
that. I can.
looks like the conversation in the chat's taking a whole nother perspective look on the
Yeah.
reptilian being. They're talking about the bunghole. Cornholio.
I am the Great Cornholio. I need TP for my bunghole. Sometimes my bunghole goes.
You guys in the chat kill me, literally.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, I
I'm
just
gonna. I'm gonna.
there's so many different ways we can go with this, though, Eric. I mean, we could talk all
It
night long
is.
about this.
It is. Oh God, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought I agree with you. Um, I was sidetracked by bunghole, and I got to remember in Boy Scouts, what's the most valuable thing in the woods? Does anybody know what the most valuable thing in the woods is?
Yeah.
It's called mountain money. If you don't know what mountain money is, Brown Bigfoot Dwarf just put it up here. It's TP toilet paper. That's called mountain money. That's the most valuable thing in the
Oh,
woods.
wow. That's why it was so valuable during COVID.
Yeah, something that has nothing to do with your bunghole was the
Yep.
most valuable thing.
Yep.
So, but
Wow.
where was I? I'm sorry, I got derailed really quick. Um, so, anyways, with these things happening, we can see them being idols because what is if you can control the minds of the mass, you can control them to do whatever you want, and we've seen plenty of that have going on. And who's been behind it? the eye changing people? You know, or are they reptilian people? Possibly. I'm not going to say yes.
Right.
I'm not going to say no. Am I saying that I'm leaving that way? Definitely leaning that way. There's just too much evidence to suggest otherwise. Um, but have you ever read R. Keith Anderson show? I thought I put it up. Did I miss it? I'm sorry. That chat's flowing, so I'm missing stuff. Um,
I've never even heard of him, Corey. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I've never even heard of him. Send me a message or an email about that, okay?
so I can see that being a possibility. With stuff going on, I always told people if you want to know what's going to happen next, read Mein Kampf. Everything that happened in World War II up until a few years ago, came back a little bit, now it's gone again, was exactly what was happening during World War II.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer you need to read history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the in between. Um, Mein Kampf is a good read. It is extremely good read, and you get into the mind of the person that book is written about. You know, I'm not going to sit there and say
Roxanne.
uh, that man was senile or messed up in the head. He had a purpose, and he was just extremely intelligent. Um, like it or not, I'm sorry. I'm
That's a
just going
good
to tell you the
question.
truth. It
Put Soundwave's question back up there. Soundwave, that's an excellent question, by the way, because I have literally found three-toed tracks that were bigger than my size 13 shoe. Okay. And, you
mm,
know, leading from water, okay, which runs past our place in the field. And I could never determine whether it was basically like either a big lizard or a big bird of prey, um, because they were so massive. Now, in our
mm,
area too, and in native culture, we have thunderbirds, legends out there. And, you know, obviously they're going to leave a very impressive print if they land. Okay. And it's been spotted overhead here from Pennsylvania on into Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia, on down into Alabama. I mean, it's been spotted down the whole Appalachian chain. So, that's a good question, though. A three-toed print, because if you look back, the three-toed prints that they found in Texarkana, Arkansas, from the Bigfoot down there, you know they how can you rule that it's just genetic inbreeding on a specific track unless you have the knowledge of say a Jeff Meldrum, okay, who is probably the most logically educated individual when it comes to tracks and footprints of certain species, including human. Unless you have his adept training and knowledge and education in footprint analysis, you can't really determine 100% conclusively that a three-toed track is not a lizard track. It is not a dogman track. That it's not a any type of a flying cryptid. It's or inbreeding. You really can't tell. The research, you got to understand, even though there have been reports and sightings of Bigfoot and all these other cryptids for a long time now that nobody took native indigenous people seriously. Um, well, I was going to say it's bigger than an emu track. So yeah, ostrich is the same thing. Um, but you know, nobody believed the native legends. when the native people sat down with the Europeans when they arrived here and warned them that, hey, listen, in our lands, we have these certain creatures, okay? We have these certain supernatural beings that we believe exist. And nobody took the native indigenous culture, you know, for actual countage. Nobody wanted to believe them, okay? And now you have all these people freaking out about all these sightings and stuff and all these different creatures that are being seen. And you know, you hear more sightings of Spearfinger and and you name it. It's ridiculous. If they would have taken the indigenous people's information seriously enough, they would have been more prepared to handle encounters with these things, you know? And that's why what do I always tell everybody? Question everything. You have to have an open mind and question everything. Okay? Literally. Yeah, but dwarf, you're right.
Well, and you got to consider one thing too. There is one type of bird that is found even in your guys' area and mine that leaves that type of print, big and deep, and it is a Native Americans followed this certain type of bird. It's
Mhm.
called a blue heron crane. The old fishermen, where the blue heron crane was, is where the fish are. They'll leave a huge,
Mhm.
I mean a freaking huge, deep three-toed track. So when you
Mhm.
guys are
Yeah,
looking
they're
for
all
this, you
over
got to
here.
understand. Yeah, and they are here too. So when you guys are looking at these tracks, you need to keep that in mind as well, as there is types of critters out there that will leave that track as well. So if you find one, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a reptilian. It very well could be a creature of nature.
I don't understand what
Soundwave
Soundwave.
reptilians are found all across the world.
Yeah,
He
that's
says,
that's
tell us where reptilians are found. They're
yeah,
found all over the world. They're found
yeah.
throughout history. They're found all over the world. Yeah.
And they're part of native culture too around the world too. Just take a look at
Hmm.
some of the cave art that you see, and the canyon pictographs that you see. A lot of the representation you're going to see, and even some of the old maps. There's the old map of the land down in ice in the um, Antarctic region of the map before it became iced over, where there was a Bigfoot and a dog man and a lizard being all on the same mountaintop. So, you know, they have been said to exist for quite a while. Now, it leads back to the beginning of the podcast tonight. We need to determine what is flesh and blood, what is interdimensional or supernatural, which is I kind of categorize that the same way, and then what we have as far as, say, genetically enhanced artificially beings with the reptilian bloodline. And then we also have basically the paranormal aspect of it as far as shapeshifters go. So, but we need to figure out the difference.
Yeah. And I'm a little different. I believe supernatural is different than paranormal just because their magical abilities and what supernatural can do versus what paranormal can do is totally different. A lot of times dealing with supernatural, dealing with some type of magic. I had that
Yeah,
up a few seconds ago. I was laughing about
yeah.
that one.
That's yeah. That is Cynocephali are yes dogmen, but it goes much deeper than that, Josh. It really does. Um, and those of you that don't know Josh and his wife Jessica, they're phenomenal people. They have a YouTube channel too, Squatch Topic PA. Look them up. Okay. he and I are more in tune with the finding out the answers to all of it, and separating the flesh and blood from the supernatural. So, and there is a difference. There's a specific difference, and him and I are under the same mindset. And I even imagine when Bigfoot dwarfs lights up a couple, he might even be in the same mindset of being seeing the supernatural.
Dwarf's got the broccoli. Dick has a question. What is Spearfinger? For me, Spearfinger is definitely supernatural. It's a type of Native American demon. It's definitely in that supernatural realm. That's for me.
Well, it's a demon that basically was human at one point in time. Um, so it's like any Native American legend that you come across, especially with my people and the Cherokee people, especially when you're dealing with, say, the Wendigo or Spearfinger, you're dealing with a demonic possession that transforms that once human being into a supernatural entity. Okay. It's just like a demonic possession. Okay. But Spearfinger is said to be a very, very strong ability witch. Okay. A black
Mm-hmm.
medicine witch. Okay. And she has the ability to use the elements. She has the ability to use elementals, and she has abilities to control crows and animal life, wildlife, including Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Okay. So yes, it would. It's really Spearfinger is. In fact, I liken I liken the whole Spearfinger incident and legend to my own mother growing up. To tell you the truth, um, almost identical in certain abilities. Let me tell you that right now. Um, yeah, frightening, very frightening. But you know, growing up Native American, and being introduced at such a young age into the dark arts and stuff, the medicine path, and then taking the good red road, I learned both aspects of spiritual medicine. Okay, in my life, and in a world based literally on duality, you can't have the light without the dark. You can't have the good without the
Mm-hmm.
bad. You can't have, you know,
Yin
white
without
without
yang.
black. You know what I mean? It's a duality world. So it would make sense to me that you have your flesh and blood world, and then you have your supernatural world. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
that in is where the difference is in the world that we live in, because
Yeah.
the human eyes and our ears only see a very minute part of the whole spectrum, visually and audio wise. Okay, very small spectrum, like 3%. Okay, so in fact, I think I've got it here too. Let me show you. I'll just put it. I'll just put it up here.
Okay.
Yeah, here it is. That's the spectrum that we see and we hear on. So there is so much that we don't see and we don't have the ability to hear every second of our lives. So for us to say that our world cannot be based on duality is ridiculous. So I believe that we have our flesh and blood reptilian races, just like we have our flesh and blood Bigfoot, our flesh and blood dog man. And then I believe that we have our supernatural. And when you're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with something supernatural, I believe you're dealing with, say, like a Mothman. with the bright, fiery red glowing eyes. Okay, almost like headlights shining at you. Okay. Um, and like I almost said brown dwarf, like Bigfoot dwarf said in the beginning of the podcast, um, the eyes are the window to the soul, literally. Okay. What happens to the eyes can tell you what's going on inside the person or inside the cryptid. Okay. And that'll give you your first clue as to whether you're dealing with something flesh and blood or whether you're dealing with something supernatural. Okay.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Soundwave has a question about reptilians. Tell me what natives say about them. I've never heard natives talk about them.
Well, all you got to do is check out the Cherokee legends and the legends of some of the people, because reptilian beings have been around for quite a while. So just like Bigfoot, Wendigo, Skinwalkers, Gugway, I mean, you name it. Shunkaworkon, which I still am under the belief that Shunkaworkon could be an offshoot of either a mix of the dire wolf or whether it is a an actual man being seen on all fours. Okay, so
Trying to get caught up on the comments here. I was listening or reading Bounty talking about cloaking, and I wasn't sure which one she was talking about with cloaking.
crap out on this here pretty soon, and they're going to
Yeah.
be putting in the new line pretty soon, hopefully. So I don't even know if I'm, what's going to happen here over the next week. But as soon as I find out, I will let everybody know. As far as I know, we're still going to go on tomorrow. Okay. And tomorrow's programming, I go and have none other than Mr. Scott from Squatch America on. Okay. And he is going to tell us a new project that he's working on. Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit about his book on Amazon, which I think I have the link to it down here in my banners. Let me go ahead and put that up. Let's see. Well, I thought I had it in my banners. I've got the his GoFundMe. He started the GoFundMe to get the money to start his new project, and there's that.
Okay, I'm caught up on the comments. Whew. Sorry, guys. It was kind of important to get to those questions.
Yeah, but that is his
GoFundMe. I need to go.
GoFundMe for Scott from Squatch America, and he's raising money for a certain project that we're going to discuss tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Concerning his Bigfoot research. So I urge you all to tune in tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. That is, unless they come and dig up my cables and stuff for my internet. So that being said, I
When
want to
did they?
thank everybody that is here in the chat. Um, I want I want to thank everybody that's a moderator. Let me take that picture down. And just we're gonna probably cut this off at about another 5 minutes, guys, because of the way the internet is acting. If you guys,
Okay.
I
I'll
don't
take that
think.
as my cue. There you are.
Dang it! I
Okay.
thought I took that down. I don't think. Take that off of there. I don't think reptilians are egg layers. I really don't. I don't think they're egg layers at all. I think that they birth just like you know humans do. To tell you the truth, some kind of a reproduction system like humans, especially if they are half human. So that's just my opinion. So
Heck yeah. Gosh dang it, it keeps jumping around. And so for me, I've got a couple things going on. If you guys realized, there was a mishap with the Indian Point paranormal experience I had video I put out. It started out on my members only first, and then went to the public a week later. For some reason, they put that on kid friendly, so you couldn't comment. So if you haven't watched that video, go watch it, comment on it. If you needed to comment and couldn't do it before, you can do it now. Um, I haven't had a chance to dig into the evidence because I got
you could
hurt
change
Monday.
that.
I did. I went through and changed it, so it's fixed. You can comment on now. Um, so you guys can see that. I put out another video today, just kind of explaining the life of a biker and what it means to a biker from my point of view. And it's not just mine, but it's based off of my point of view. And that video was taken today while I was riding home from dropping my daughter off to work. So that's literally a video of me riding my bike, heading home. So that's So if anybody wants to gripe on YouTube, that legitimately is 100% my stuff. The song I created, the story I wrote, the videos, the pictures, everything is mine. I guess it don't matter because I'm not on my YouTube, but you never know who's cross listening. So go check those videos out. One of the perks of a members only is anytime I put out an investigation video, members only will get it access to it first for the first week before it goes out to the public. So that's one of the perks I'm going to start doing. It's starting to get cooled off here. I've got an AC unit coming for the office here. It's supposed to be here Monday. I've got another one that's supposed to be here on the 3rd for the rest of the house, so I can start cooling it down around here. I'm not doing too bad today. It's
If anybody,
85 degrees in here. Oh, we lost William. Okay, so guys, keep that in mind. Sorry, I've tried to do some writing last week. Got a little really hot. Kind of wait to see if William is able to come back. But I have got to get started back on them books. I was working on Lucian. No, I am not, Bounty. I won't disclose on here because I don't have permission who I'm affiliated with, but no, I'm not with Baca. So I can't say that. But I just got my bike up and riding. Sadly, I have flat tire on my truck today, so I had to use my bike to take my daughter to work and pick her up today, which is why my knee is like really aggravated because it's my left knee, which is my shifting knee. So he's coming back in now. Trying to. We'll see what happens here. Oh, well, he's getting closer. There, oh, we're waiting on him to load. So, guys, keep an eye on that. Now that things are cooling off in here, dang it. I should be getting some more done. Kiss my ass, Corey. Let me get to a few of these comments here. Oh, you watched half of it. That's good. Yeah, it was a spur moment thing. It was nothing planned, but with what happened in that during that experience at Indian Point is the reason why I created the video. I'm still waiting on William to load up here. The dog's worth it. This is one. There he is. Hey, brother, welcome back. You kiss my butt, Corey. No, I do not.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this because it's getting bad.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty much done. I've just got a couple more things. I am going to try to do shows this weekend, even though I'm having issues with sitting here. I cannot promise there'll be 2-hour shows, but I'm going to try to because I'm having issues with this. But I need to get with a certain somebody in the chat and see if they're willing or able to come on Sunday. And we lost William again, I think. Are you still there, brother? Okay. So looks like we lost William again. So I'll just go ahead and end this. Everybody, remember that everything that William and I talk about, take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it for granted. Build upon our research or come up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be ending the podcast because this is getting crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I was getting ready to end it for you because you froze up. So, everybody, peace, love, and blessings. All right, everybody. We'll see you hopefully tomorrow. Goodbye.
Through the mist we rise, a force unbroken, with banners high and hearts awoken. The sound of pipes, our war is calling. Like thunderous waves, our duty is falling. Stand tall, together we fight, with courage found in every breath. We'll fight like lions, defy our death. In unity our hearts shall sing, the legacy of warriors through every reign. With battle cries we forge our fate, in fields of valor we elevate. As shadows loom, our spirits gleam. Brothers in arms, we are the tree. Fearless, we take the night, with courage found in every breath. We'll fight like lions, defy our death. Unity, our hearts shall sing, the legacy of warriors through every reign. As dawn breaks, we know our name.